And the pastel is also representative of the most authentic Puerto Rican soul, because el pastel is wrapped as a gift. And if you were poor, and there was a lot of poverty in Puerto Rico at some point, we still have, but there used to be a lot of poverty back in the days. If you didn't have any resources, monetary resources to gift things, you will make pasteles with the things that are on your patio. You will have that growing up in your patio, in your garden, and then you will do pasteles and you will gift that to your adult kids, to your sisters, to your brothers. And so, because it's now we have technology and now we can use food processors and so on. But back in the day, you had to grate that by hand. So if you have that gift, I am not only gifting you my talent and the products that I grow in my patio, but I'm also gifting my time. So it's a very meaningful way of telling someone that you really care about them. And that's all about Puerto Ricans. We care a lot. We want to share everything that we have, and all the visitors that we have. They all can say that Puerto Ricans are always nice to them. Even if we have people that doesn't speak so much English, they will take you to whatever place you wanted to go, trying to understand you and enjoying our island. So I think that the pastel is representative.
Welcome to the Mom Founder Imagination Hub, your weekly podcast to inspire you to dream bigger. Plan out how you're going to get to that next level in business, find the energy to keep going, and make sure your creative juices are flowing so that this way you get what you really want rather than having to settle. Get ready to discover how mom founders have reimagined entrepreneurship and motherhood. Ever wonder how they do it? Tune in to find out, and stretch yourself by also learning from diverse entrepreneurs who might not be moms, but who have lessons you can tailor about how you can disrupt industries and step way outside of your comfort zone. I believe every mom's superpower is her imagination. In this podcast, I'm going to give you the mindset, methods, and tools to unleash yours. Sounds good? Then keep listening. So what does sofrito, which is essentially a base of herbs and spices used in Puerto Rican cooking, have to do with reimagining business, food security, and passing along really critical history lessons? Well, for today's guest, it is everything. And if you've ever wondered how to weave your culture, creativity, and calling into one powerful movement, then this episode is the recipe you've been looking for. Welcome to the Mom Founder Imagination Hub. This is your weekly podcast designed to inspire you to dream bigger in your business and your life. Also, to help you find the energy to keep going, because how are you going to sustain what's necessary to be big? And to keep your imagination flowing so that this way you could feel inspired, lit up like a Christmas tree or Hanukkah candles. I'm your host, Melissa Llarena. I'm a mom of 3 high-energy boys. No, they did not get their energy from me. Psych, they did. I'm also a best-selling author of Fertile Imagination and an imagination coach for mom founders who are reimagining what success and motherhood can look like on their own terms. And that's really important. Now, if you've ever stirred a pot of sofrito, you already know this, right? You know that the blend of flavors tells a deeper story. It tells a story that sometimes has made its way across generations. It preserves a culture, and it does nourish more than just our babies' bellies. So today's guest, I am thrilled to invite Crystal Diaz. Now, she's taken the same approach in terms of her business ventures. She's a foodpreneur, culture keeper, I love that, and community builder. She wears 4 hats. And in today's episode, we're going to go through each of those hats. One of which is as the owner of El Pretexto, i.e. the excuse, a culinary farm lodge in the countryside of Puerto Rico where she serves 100% locally sourced meals and lives her mission every day. She has lots of degrees and an MA in food studies from NYU, which is why if you're watching the video, you could see, I hope, my NYU t-shirt. Hit subscribe if you see it and you love it. Subscribe on YouTube. Hit follow on this podcast. A little bit more about Crystal. She was recognized by Fast Company as one of the most creative people in business in 2022 and was named one of El Nuevo Diaz Women of the Year in 2023. She's the real deal. In this episode, we're going to explore how Crystal uses her imagination as her main ingredient, whether it's in terms of the way that she's carving a way for Puerto Rico to have its own food-centric cultural immersive experience, or even by how she decided to commute to NYU from San Juan every single week, which was creative in and of itself, or even in terms of the way that she describes the depth of a very famous Puerto Rican dish. Oh, and side note, I actually have her real life best on the planet Sofrito recipe. My gosh, do not run away. For sure, check out the Sofrito recipe we articulated in this conversation. You're going to walk away with yummy ideas for how to use your own imagination to nourish your business, your family, and community. And it's going to be so important, even if you're not working in food. So before we dig in, I would appreciate if you hit follow if you're listening to this on iTunes. Why hit follow? Because every time someone hits follow on iTunes, it tells me that I need to bring more guests with stories like this to the podcast. And I get really excited. And when a mom is excited, it is a very good day in her entire home. So go ahead, hit follow. You will absolutely get that dopamine hit that everybody needs. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, then hit subscribe. I would be so appreciative. And again, I will do the dance of joy. Okay, so enjoy the conversation. Crystal Diaz, thank you so much for this conversation on the Mom Founder Imagination Hub. We are delighted to have you here. Crystal, just to kind of set off the scenery, why don't you explain to us where you are in Puerto Rico? What's outside your windows?
All right. Well, let's our imagination hop in a car. You were in San Juan and you drove 45 minutes south up to the mountains. Now we are in Calle. I am at El Pretexto, which is also my home, and we are up in the mountains, 2,600 feet over sea level, overlooking the Caribbean Sea at the south, and all the mountains slowly winding down all the way to the coast. And you will have some crazy chickens surrounding you in my patio while you are probably sipping a wine or a coffee, depending on the time of the day, enjoying the view and surrounded by trees, lush greenery all over the place. And there are gardens on your side, also as well. So you are surrounded definitely by nature and you feel at peace. That's where we are.
Oh, okay, cool. So let's bring that sense of peace to this conversation. I am excited because I'm sure any listener right now who is a mom, has a business, might feel a little frazzled now and again. But right now, for the next 30 minutes, this is a peaceful zone. We are in Puerto Rico right now. Okay, so Crystal, now I'm going to ask you an obvious question. As you just described, like what you are surrounded by in Puerto Rico, but you attended NYU, and I'm just kind of super curious. Like you could have stayed in, New York, let's say, right? You could have been like this chef at a restaurant in New York City, Michelin star, et cetera, but you decided to return home. And so I'm just curious, like what informed that decision?
Well, you will be surprised with my answer because I never left home. I commuted every single week to New York, coming on to the city, take my classes back to my home. So for 2 years, I was traveling every week to New York for one day.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that is so surprising. Okay, so now I'm just like curious here. Okay, so you were on a plane. So usually people complain about their commute, right? And they have this whole like return to work like aggravation. Here you are getting on a plane every single week to take courses at NYU. So then let me ask you this other question. So I know that it's a little off track, but now I'm just way curious. Like, why did it have to be NYU? Like, I'm just like, what was so like, what, like, that's quite the pull.
Yeah, well, my background is in marketing, and I have a BA in marketing with a minor in advertising and public relations. Then I work with a newspaper for 14 years. So my background is all about business and marketing. Then I did a first master degree here in Puerto Rico, in the University of Puerto Rico, about cultural action and management. Uh, and then I wanted, because at this point, I believe that I am not passionate anymore. I am kind of obsessed with food, and I guess we will get into that later. But um, I wanted to learn the policy part of it. And in Puerto Rico, we don't have any program in any of the universities, nor public or private, specifically about food. And way less food policies and advocacy and that type of um, that type of perspective on the food system, which is what I wanted to learn. So that's why I ended up in New York. I decided to do this to because it's a direct flight. So it's going to be a 3 hours and a half flight going in, then the 1 hour in the A train until West 4. So it was, even though I know it's intense, it was pretty straightforward. You don't have to make a stop to then take another plane. And I was studying and reading all my plane hours. So there's no excuse to not complete your assignments, I guess.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so hey, that is 100% using your imagination, because I think a lot of us, myself included, like I wouldn't have considered that to be an option in my mind. Like I still don't, right? Like it's got to be a certain set of circumstances that make that a possibility. But I love that now that's an idea that we just planted in someone's head, right? Like if they really are
Yeah.
obsessed, right?
And if you really want to learn about something and you're obsessed about it, there's always ways to learn to make it happen. And to my point, New York is so expensive that I spend way less money in flight tickets than actually living there. So
that makes a lot. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so this is really interesting. Okay, so you could have stayed in New York, but you didn't even choose to stay in New York when you were taking classes at NYU. So now you have the whole like that's fascinating, Crystal. Like you're just like you really gobsmacked me right now with that piece of information. So along the same lines of using your imagination and thinking totally out of the box, let me ask you this one question. So el pretexto, of course, we'll go into like what it is and all of that. But I also want to understand, because on your website, you say that you've traveled the world, right? So you've seen all these different culinary experiences, and using your imagination and imagining kind of like where or how would you imagine Puerto Rico's cuisine fitting into like the landscape of like world gastro? I can't say the rest of that word, but I know it's a real word.
yes. Well, for me, I love to travel. I am a girl of no luxuries, right? I don't care about purses or new shoes or jewelry. It's like I don't judge, but I don't care. So where I spend my money and my time, which I can't, money you can recover it somehow, but time is just one time. You just have every minute that you have. And I like to spend those traveling and getting to know other cultures and exposing myself to other cultures. And I think that those travels have pushed me to understand and appreciate what we have back here at home, and also understand the opportunities that we have back here at home. Not everybody is doing it perfectly, but you can definitely learn of how it is done in other places. And I'm talking generally, right? Depending on what you are interested, but you always learn of how the world do things in other places. So in my case, I love food, and I try to expose myself not only to eating in good restaurants or good food, but I love to go to markets. I even go to supermarkets every time I travel. Um, I like to visit farms. And I noticed, especially in Mexico, you can see this. Peru is developing this a lot, and Italy has it all
On
set.
lockdown.
But you have these culinary experiences where you get to expose to their cuisine with a local chef, and you go to their farmers markets, and you get the whole um, country, but with a special focus in food. And I was like, you know what? Puerto Rican food is full of history, is complex enough, is flavorful enough, and varied. So I can pull something like this up in Puerto Rico. So that's how the one of our offerings about the curated food experiences came to be, because I was sure that somebody will have the curiosity to get to know Puerto Rico from its food. So that's how I got into there. And I think that because I am obsessed with the fact that Puerto Rico imports 90% of everything that we eat,
Mm.
um, I am then focus on cherish and enhance and share that 10%, what it can be if we actually put a lot of effort into grow that 10% into 20, let's say.
That's interesting. So, okay. So, I mean, I'm not cynical, but, in my opinion, I kind of believe that the person that controls food source kind of controls a lot. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not fantastic. And so I'm just wondering from like a policy perspective, and as you think about this share of, stomach or however it's really considered,
Mm-hmm.
um, are you also part of that conversation too? Like, are you
Yes.
actively advocating for that too?
Yes, yes. I always say I have a couple of hats for all those, also thinking that you only have to do one thing and one thing only. If you want to do one thing and one thing only, that's okay. But in my case, I am focused on food, but I try to deal with it from different perspectives. So I have four hats.
Hmm.
And one of my hats specifically works with food policy advocacy. And we try to understand the local food policies that are in place, understanding what programs work, what programs doesn't work, and then trying to make it as to come up with ideas to make it easier for food producers to produce more food, because we are in a little island. We don't have that much territorial extension. So we can't think about our agriculture as other countries that have large extensions of terrains and flats and stuff like that. We need to think it differently. And I am not against importation. We all have globalized diets, and we love olive oil, and we can't produce that in Puerto Rico, and we love wine, and we can't produce that in Puerto Rico. So it's not like, all the way 100%. That's not what I mean. But definitely we should aim to have let's say, half of our stomach share
Mm-hmm.
uh, full of food that is produced locally, not only because of its nutritional value, but
Mm-hmm.
also because it means economic growth and development for our island and our local communities. So every dollar that you spend on food, somebody might be hearing us while they are eating something. So you imagine whatever you're eating right now. Let's say it costs you $1. It depends on where the ingredients came from. That dollar went to that place.
Mm.
It depends on where it was processed. Part of that dollar went to that place. And then if you bought it in the supermarket, or if you bought it in Amazon, to who you gave that share of that dollar. So with every single meal that we do, with every single snack, everything that we eat, you are impacting economies. And if you want to support your local communities and you want to see them, everybody having a better life, you might want to spend that dollar closer home and making sure that all of the ingredients that are on that food are closer to home, so that money stays closer to home. And that's how I see it. How do we make that share of that dollar, that we as consumers have the power to choose where it goes? And by the way, there are some parts that we have the power and some parts we don't have the power. I understand that, but how do we make an effort to, in whatever way we can, to stay as close as possible to our home?
Hmm. So I think you said that was that one out of your four hats?
Yes.
What are the other three?
Well, Pretexto,
Mm.
which is a bed and breakfast, is our Puerto Rico's first and only culinary farm lodge. This is my home, but I also welcome guests here. Um, so Pretexto is my second one. I'm the co-founder of Produce, which is a digital marketplace that connects local food producers with consumers directly. We're trying to shorten that food chain and make it easier and convenient to get local products on your home. We deliver island wide. So that's my third hat. And then I have a super small digital marketing agency with another partner. And it's all focused on food and beverages. So everything is about food, but from different perspectives.
Yeah, that's so interesting because it's almost like you have like a little supply chain kind of going on. It's like right? It's like we've got a lot going on, but it's all related to, eating, which is essential. But I think it's smart. I mean, you have your little niche there, huge niche. Like we keep being hungry, so you're like in a good spot, I would say. So let me understand this idea about food and how you saw it as an opportunity for Puerto Rico because it has like the rich history, right? So me as a mom, for example, I'm second generation from a Puerto Rican perspective. Um, as a mom, for me, passing down culture is urgent. Like it's not even, it's almost like on the verge of extinction, I feel.
Mhm.
Because of where I am generationally. Like I'm quote unquote amongst people that I know I'm not quote unquote supposed to know Spanish. I'm not quote unquote supposed to literally make rice and beans every day, which by the way, I don't have to. But my goodness, my children really like their rice and beans, and I am so lazy. So that is all I make because I just want one pot. But anyway, so culture, food, that's the one way that I pass it along, right? You are what you eat. So guess what? My kids are Puerto Rican and Cuban at this stage. Yes, they have Dominican in them, but hey, that's just my culinary preference. So
Mhm.
tell me about this idea of like culture, Puerto Rican culture. And I would be super curious if you could maybe like choose an example of like a cuisine or a food and just kind of walk us through like how that kind of like expresses culture, or maybe there's a story behind it that is unique to Puerto Rico.
Well, for me, And my mentor used to be Dr. Cruz Miguel Ortiz Cuadra, which was the only food historian in Puerto Rico. He
Wow.
passed 2 years ago, but I learned so much from him, and pretty much I was his daughter. He inherited me all his library, which I have here home, and so we discussed this a lot. And I think that we both share that the ultimate dish that represents the Puerto Rican culture would be the pasteles. For those that doesn't know what a pastel is a tamal-like preparation. But the tamales are corn based, and they use corn leaves to wrap it up. The pastel puertorriqueño is made out of a dough, made out of root vegetables mainly. It will have bananas and plantains that we got from our African inherits. It will have pumpkin, which were already with our Taino peoples here in America. It will have yautía, which also was here in Puerto Rico. And then it will have some pork stew that was brought by the Spanish people. So you have in one dish our full heritage of the three cultures that have conformed the Puerto Ricanness in just one dish. And then that pork stew will use what is the ultimate base of flavor of the Puerto Rican cuisine, which is the sofrito. And the sofrito itself also is a blend of African, Spanish, and Taino ingredients, but it's a bricolage of flavors and smells that then go into the stew that then is used to make the pastel. And the pastel is also representative of the most authentic Puerto Rican soul, because el pastel is wrapped as a gift. And if you were poor, and there was a lot of poverty in Puerto Rico at some point, we still have, but there used to be a lot of poverty back in the days. If you didn't have any resources, monetary resources to gift things, you will make pasteles with the things that are on your patio. You will have that growing up in your patio, in your garden, and then you will do pasteles and you will gift that to your adult kids, to your sisters, to your brothers. And so, because it's now we have technology and now we can use food processors and so on. But back in the day, you had to grate that by hand. So if you have that gift, I am not only gifting you my talent and the products that I grow in my patio, but I'm also gifting my time. So it's a very meaningful way of telling someone that you really care about them. And that's all about Puerto Ricans. We care. We care a lot. We want to share everything that we have, and all the visitors that we have. They all can say that Puerto Ricans are always nice to them. Even if we have people that doesn't speak so much English, they will take you to whatever place you wanted to go, trying to understand you and enjoying our island. So I think that the pastel is representative of all the goodness of the Puerto Ricans.
Let's pause for a second. If you've been nodding your head all along while listening to Crystal talk about food as fuel for imagination, then I want to put this on your radar. My book, Fertile Imagination, is for any mom who's ever thought, I know I'm capable of more, but I don't know where to start. And as one Amazon reviewer said this of my book, Fertile Imagination, which is all about maximizing your superpower to make your maximum impact, she says this: it's a non-judgmental kick in the butt to start valuing your whole selves and to create a new reality where we combine motherhood with our big dreams. Whether you're chasing an idea during nap time or whispering your big vision, this is hilarious, into a spatula, then this book is your creative permission slip. you're going to hear stories, especially if you like this conversation with Crystal. You're going to hear a story as well from a podcast guest that I had here, who is a James Beard award-winning chef, Gabriele Corcos. And you're going to learn about how he has really latched on to this idea of novelty as his way to explore new categories of interest in his one beautiful life. So I want to just be sure that you realize that this conversation is the beginning of the process. I wanted you to see through Crystal how if your imagination was reawakened, you can start to reimagine how you approach your own life. And I think that's important. But then the book, Fertile Imagination, goes on and adds some tools that you can actually use to incorporate your imagination into your one divine life. And here's the thing, because you could use your imagination from any place you are in the world, you won't have to hop on a plane and go to any place. You can actually just close your eyes and plug in to the little girl that you once were, who had all these beautiful ideas that you wanted to play out in the world. And that's what I want for you. So here's what I have for you. Just go ahead to fertileideas.com. If you're driving, if you're running, if you're walking, you could do this in a bit. Just go to fertileideas.com and you could download a free chapter of my book, Fertile Imagination. What's really amazing about that chapter is that chapter basically takes you to a place where you can go and travel back in time to that moment when you were most free, to that moment where you had the world totally ahead of you and you were imagining what you wanted for your one divine life. That's what I did when I got on stage at the Magnet Theater in New York City 100 years ago now, so it feels, but I talk about that moment for me in that chapter that you can get for free right now on fertileideas.com. So back to the show. Again, shop the book. This episode is brought to you by Fertile Imagination, Every Mom's Superpower. Go to fertileideas.com. Grab the free chapter. Why not? What are you going to do? Have an amazing time reading a free chapter? Like, that's the way to set yourself up for success for this summer. All right. Enjoy the rest of the conversation. I've never, ever heard of un pastel in that way. I'm just like, it's fascinating because I also think maybe it's just me, but I feel like there's a bit of an acquired taste to it too. Like for me, right? When I think about a pastel and I compare it to a tamal, I do not think about a Mexican tamal at all. I think about Cuban. I think about
sure.
And and for me, it's really fascinating to hear the story behind the pastel, in the sense that it's very comprehensive. I bet you there's probably books already, or maybe you're going to write a book. Maybe you got a fifth hat to wear, right? Now you write about pasteles. I mean, it's not a bad gig. But I think it's really interesting. And I think it's a testament to the fact that irrespective of where someone travels to, the depth with which they can get to know and appreciate a culture is almost unlimited in a way, right? It's like for me and my family, like I am not a Disney World person. But I've been to Disney World because it's kind of like, oh, we just go to Disney World and I have 3 kids and you got a cat. But yeah, she's got a cat. And if you're watching this on video, you see her like big and fluffy cat. Is your cat Puerto Rican though? Like that's
She's Puerto Rican. She's a Sato cat.
Aw.
She's a rescue one.
So cute. She probably eats pasteles because she's got meat on her. She's a solid cat. But yeah, like I just, the depth with which you could understand a culture, what I'm hearing from you, Crystal, it can absolutely include, history and careful attention to the food that you're eating, right? Like, I think about just like, everywhere that I've traveled and every time I've eaten, food, it's kind of like, there's almost like a story or a reason for why something is on a plate. And it's not always superficial. It's not just like flavor profile. It could have to do with, political conversations. It could have to do with, whoever decided that food would make its way to that region. But let me ask you this question then. So just to kind of close up this conversation on something that I think is very practical, I'm going to ask you a very selfish question. Okay, so I'm on the quest for the perfect sofrito. I'm going to tell you what I do for my sofrito. So it's my ritual on Sundays. I take all the peppers that I find, red, green, yellow, and even orange, because it comes in that pack. I also then buy cilantro. I'm in Texas, so let's just be mindful. I'm limited in some of the things I can get. I also, because I'm a health conscious mom, I put bone broth in the blender so that this way things can blend, right? I put onions, I put garlic, I put some oregano. That is what's in my sofrito on a good day. Like Melissa's like, okay, I am ready to make a sofrito. How can I enhance that sofrito? Or like, how do you teach people that visit El Pretexto how to make their own sofrito?
Well, sofrito is one thing as the pasteles, right? Like everybody has their own recipe and everybody says that their mom's sofrito is the best, right?
Well, Goya is actually what
my mom's sofrito is the best.
Yeah.
So that's the one that I do. And I'm happy to share the recipe for you because I have it written. But there are two schools of sofrito, right? To begin with. The school that says you do your sofrito on a Sunday and you don't touch it. You don't do another sofrito batch up until that one is gone in 1 or 2 weeks. And then you have my mom's school, which is you do your sofrito every time that you're gonna cook.
God bless her.
Right. Obviously, that's nice for those that are retired and have all the time in the world. I do it that way. I'm not retired, but it's because I appreciate that's how she does it. And I don't want to your point, I want to continue her way of doing things. So their onions, we don't use all the colors of the bell peppers. We actually use cubanelle pepper. Onion cubanelle. Then we will have the ají dulce, the sweet little pepper I need. We will have the cilantro, but we will also have culantro. Recao. Yeah. And then we will have garlic in it, a little bit of oregano, and pretty much that's the base. So depending on who you ask, there are people that will omit having the onion, and they will do it when they are cooking, if they're doing a batch. And then you will have people that will go all the way in with a lot of culantro in it. So it has that strong flavor to it. My mom's is more balanced in how much goes of each little thing in there. And we also use the bone broth, but not to blend the sofrito, but to stew the rice. If it's gonna be a stew rice, we will do bone broth instead of water with the rice. And then the beans, we like them vegetarians. We don't use any hams or meat cuts into it. But again, that's us. There are people that say that the most flavorful ones is with a piece of ham in it and whatever. But I like my mom's and mine are vegetarian. And my cat starts again. But sofrito is very personal. Is part of how your family has done it. And as I told earlier, is also a blend of these three cultures that goes into it. A lot of cultures have a mirepoix or other type of base of flavors into their food, and this is ours. So you have to make it yours, but also learn that there is a lot of history into it. It's not something that we do because we do it. There is a lot of history into it. But yeah, happy to share my mom's one with you.
Yeah, for sure. Crystal, this was so amazing. So I would say around now, a lot of individuals are planning their summer holiday trips and vacations and all of that. So maybe you can share, where people can learn more about you, can learn more about El Pretexto, if that's an option to them to kind of explore and just follow your journey.
Yeah, sure. Well, for El Pretexto, a friendly reminder that it is an adults only project. So this might be your chance to. El Pretexto actually translate to the excuse. So this might be your excuse to having your parents take care of the kids and hop down to the island and have a little bit of a honeymoon. But El Pretexto, you can find it elpretextopr.com. We're also in social media at El Pretexto PR in Facebook and Instagram. There you will meet our chickens and photos of our garden and our harvest and the breakfast. And maybe you get a little bit hungry. In our website, you will find the different options because you could come for a weekend or you could come for a weekday stay. But also you could come for these curated food experiences, which are in very specific dates around the year. We also have dinners, farm to table dinners in our property. We invite guest chefs to cook dinners around the year. And also I take people to other places in the countryside to enjoy a beautiful lunch, but getting to know another piece of countryside around the island. So El Pretexto is no other thing than the celebration of the beautiful, diverse countryside of Puerto Rico. And you can check all the information there. So yeah, feel free to follow me there.
Thank you so much, Crystal. This has been amazing. Have an awesome rest of your day. Keep enjoying the peace and serenity of the mountains and the Caribbean Sea and all the beauty that you see outside your window. Thank you so much for this conversation.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation.
So, what's your version of a sofrito, right? Let's take it out of the kitchen and into your home office. Like, what sort of things for you can you put together to create your next big idea? Whether it's something for business, something for your personal life, or something for your family this very summer. I am so excited to have had Crystal Diaz for this conversation because I think she's inspiring all of us. She's giving us a good idea of all the ways that we could color our own individual rainbows. At the same time, I want this to just remind you that your imagination could be stirred into anything, right? Especially like tonight's dinner. So catch up on Tuesdays on the Mom Founder Imagination Hub. And until then, keep cooking up ideas that only you can serve. I honestly think there's a place in this world for our imaginations, and irrespective of AI and technology, at the end of the day, it's only as good as the person behind the computer screen. Our prompts, our ideas, the way that we decide to use these resources. And that is the best case for you to actually keep your imagination going and playing with it. So thank you for this conversation. And again, if you are interested in learning more about the book, just go to fertileideas.com. Have an amazing rest of your day, moms.